Hey guys, it's Monday. What's going on? Hopefully everybody can hear us. Yeah, it looks like they can. Okay, that's good. I always got to check because sometimes the microphone turns itself off randomly. You know.
Yeah, so it's another Haunting Mondays.
Yes, it is.
And we're doing Dark Forest, which was, it's one of the older ones, but it's a good one.
Season 2, this one was.
Yeah, season 2.
It's really weird because we were going through like the box set of the first 4 seasons, and I was like, most of them, we'd either already covered them, or I was like, I couldn't remember enough if we'd like covered them or not. But for some reason, this is the only one that we didn't really get into, and I didn't actually remember anything about it until we started watching it, and I don't know why, because it's actually like a pretty decent episode.
Yeah, I recognized a lot of the witnesses, but I didn't remember the story.
No, I didn't either.
And but then, like when they brought out the psychic, that character and everything, the way many people have died in this house. The motherfucker's made it on tape. And I was going, oh yeah, I remember this one. But I never really paid close attention to the story, really, and never really tried to analyze it until watching it this time, trying to get a grip on what this phenomenon might be. And, we'll get into it.
Yeah, this was... And actually, there's quite a lot of outside stuff about this one, because apparently this house is quite famous.
Okay, I didn't know that.
In that area. Okay. And, it's even on TripAdvisor and everything. Like, it has the address, you can go see it, and, like, the guy that owns it, like, gives tours of it and shit like that. It's not the same family, doesn't own it anymore, obviously. Yeah. But it's, And the woman that was on here, Clara Dandy, that's not her last name anymore, because I guess she divorced her husband, but she wrote a book about it. And that psychic has also written a bunch of books, too. He actually wrote a book called Is Your Child Psychic? Or something. Or How to Tell If Your Child's Psychic? Something. Okay. He has like 4 or 5 of them on Amazon. I'm not sure. I thought maybe he was still alive. Although he said if he's still alive, he's 96 years old.
Okay.
But I'm not really sure if he's still alive or not.
At 96, he's doing good if he's still alive.
Well, yeah. I don't know if he is or not, because like he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but like when I Googled him, it's like it came up and it said that what year he was born, and it said 96 years old, but it didn't say if he was like alive or dead. You know what I'm saying?
Could be.
It's possible that he's still alive.
Yeah, this story had a lot of interesting points to it, little data points, concepts that don't really come up in typical haunting cases, like how the church handled it and everything, which made it a little bit more interesting. You know, usually when the church gets involved, they don't want anything to do with it. They either think it's fake, you're crazy, or it's demons.
Or they come in and they're just like, and then they get scared and they're like, all right, bless, bye. Right, Good luck with that.
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with it. They're like, this ghost here, man, might know about those little boys. So I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, before I get into trouble.
He's gonna start talking about them little. He's gonna start talking about them little boys. So I gotta split. So
maybe that's what it is. Yeah, maybe that's why they always run out of there.
But this one, as soon as the priest heard about it, he goes, I think this is poltergeist. I was like, oh man, fucking priest. He goes, we need to get a psychic investigator in on this. So he did bless and did some churchly shit. I got your back. Go ahead and investigate. You know, I got the church angle back there. Jesus is watching over you. You know,
he did some churchly shit.
Yeah, which I was kind of impressed with that. It kind of lends a little air of credibility to it. That, or at least in this case, that the church kind of did the best thing. Fucking let somebody who, the priest went to a parapsychology angle. Says this is fucking poltergeist coming out of one of these kids. Psychokinetic abilities. And says we just need to talk to a fucking psychic. Now the psychic's interpretation of what it was, he's going to come in and say, oh, it's a haunting. But, he did get rid of it, kind of, or supposedly. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He didn't. Like, it got rid of it for, well, spoiler alert. They got rid of it for a while, like for a few months, but then it came back, apparently. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, he wasn't a whole lot of help, I guess.
And we'll get into it, too, because, like, some of the stuff he said, as far as I know, like, turned out later that when they went to research that was not really the case.
Yeah.
So.
I figured.
Yeah,
they tend to do that, man.
Well, yeah, they're like they just want a good story because it's like nobody wants, you know, if you're having like weird shit happen in your house and you call like a paranormal investigator, nobody wants them to come in and just be like, well, nothing exciting ever happened in this house. Yeah. They always everybody wants something like salacious and spooky and everything like that, you know.
Yeah.
Makes it a much easier to like get a handle on, I suppose.
Church should have got a parapsychologist instead of a psychic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I kind of thought that's where... Now, apparently this guy, though, I guess I found like a paper that was written about him. Like about his, like, I couldn't read it because it was like behind a paywall, but it was written in 2013, and it was about like testing his abilities and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it was like a university that had done it, like, I don't know, it was like some kind of for some kind of like parapsychological, anthropological journal or something.
Yeah, I'm not downing on psychics. There have been psychics that have ended poltergeist phenomena, you know what I mean? But this particular one didn't.
Just temporarily.
Just temporarily. Right, yeah.
And then apparently it came back. I mean, at least according to the family. I'm not really sure.
Go get some ice. Who's in here? Everybody here?
Who's in here?
Who's in here listening? More ice for this drink.
But yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised. This is actually like a better episode than I remember. Like once I started watching it, I kind of remembered. I remembered the people. I just never remember exactly what happened in it because a lot of them are kind of, you know, I don't know if they're samey, but a lot of them are similar, and I get them like mixed up because usually what we used to do is we used to watch them, you know, like a bunch of them in a row. So sometimes I'd mix up the details unless it was like super distinctive. And so I think Tom Sykes said earlier, I don't think it's there anymore, but he said this one's kind of like, is this one kind of like the one last week with like the two boys finding the like the spirit in the forest? I said this does have a slight tinge of that. It wasn't actually brothers. It was like one of the kids was a boy, and he had a couple friends, and they went out in the woods, and they suspected that something was out in the woods that came in the house, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, they were going out in the woods scaring themselves.
Pretty much.
But they heard some stuff, but you can hear a lot of stuff in the woods. Okay?
That's true.
They blamed it on being out. They associated being out in the woods, being scared with this poltergeist thing. In my experience, it could have been that getting freaked out and getting scared out in the woods may have attributed, given the energy you needed later on, to put, I guess, a bunch of fear in the atmosphere of the house, which could bring about RSPK, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. Yeah, poltergeist. Yeah. But RSPK and the poltergeist didn't come from outside. It's just that being scared helped generate it.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different than the last one, because the last one they said they saw like shadow people-y type things like out in the woods.
They believed they saw.
They believed they saw, yeah.
That's enough to freak you out.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be freaked out if I thought I saw little shadow people.
Maybe they didn't really see it. They just thought they saw it, and then that helped bring about a poltergeist. You know what I mean? It's always in the telling of the story.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe some of these people are way more imaginative than I am, because like I don't usually see anything that weird.
I was getting scared fucking driving up to Mammoth Mountain. I was getting a feeling of doom, and that's all it took to start it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know.
Because you were probably thinking about The Shining.
Yeah, I was thinking about The Shining stuff.
Like that was good.
Yeah,
that's what was going to happen when you get up
this
there.
place is going to be haunted when I get up there. Watch. You know what I mean? And it fucking was.
And you were right. See?
Yeah.
You did it.
But I generated it.
You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. Yeah, so did I mention that this is, season 2, episode 7? Season 2, episode 7.
Yeah.
So do you think we should get into it, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if you had like something else to say.
No, we're ready to go.
So we're going to talk about.
There's enough people in there. We'll go.
All right. So
we don't have all night anyway. Got shit we got to do.
We don't have all night anyway.
Yeah.
It's like we got to eat some dinner, and then we got to. Oh, and we got to watch Night of the Comet, because that's the movie we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Right. That was because remember, if you're on our Patreon, which if you're not, you should be. You can go in there and vote. I made it now so you could vote on the matinee movies, like the Sunday movie and the Tuesday movie. So that's the one that won the vote.
We're looking for more patrons. We used to get like $600 a month in Patreon money. This is a couple years back, and over the past couple years, it's like dwindled down to like $300. It's sucking. It's enough to make a difference, you know. And I'd hate for Jenny to have to go out and get a job. And
I would hate that too.
Stop doing the show and all that shit. Fucking so. patrons were really helping us out. So if you guys, we're looking for patrons. If you want to be a patron, even if it's only like $5 a month, that would really help us out. We're at that point now.
And like I said, even if you can't do that, it's good to like the videos, comment on the videos, all that kind of stuff, because that
subscribe to your friends.
That all like pushes stuff up in the algorithms too. Because if we get more subscribers, then that'll be good also. Yeah, we're almost at 13,000, so I'm kind of excited about that. So this story right here, this took place right here.
Okay.
In 1970. That's when it started. This is the Dandy family. They're a dandy family. I'm sure they got that all the time back then. They're like, yeah, we've heard it. Shut the fuck up. So this happened in Hinsdale, New York, which I guess it's like western New York, like kind of a rural mountainous area. I think the way that they were saying it was like 70-ish miles from Buffalo. So the house that's there, and like I said, I mean, I debated, because I do have the address like farther down, because I found it like very, very easily. Like I said, it's on TripAdvisor. So I guess in this case, I'll give the address out later on, because they don't really seem to mind, because it's on TripAdvisor, and like I said, they give tours and shit. And there was people, you know, that had been on tours and like took pictures out in front of it. So I guess like nobody cares. So I'll say what the address was. So apparently the house is still there. So yeah, it's on 8 acres. So the family had actually lived in Buffalo, New York, but they had been vacationing in this kind of rural area for many years before deciding they were going to get out of the rat race of Buffalo, New York, and move into the country. So the dad, whose name is Phil, he's still going to keep his job in Buffalo and commute 70 miles. I don't know if that's 70 miles one way or 70 miles both ways. Either way, fuck that.
Yeah.
That's
right.
I don't think so. I don't want to live out in the country that bad. So they moved out there in 1970, as I mentioned. So Clara, who is the matriarch, now she was on there for real. It was her and the son, whose name was Mike, and then like some other people later. Like I'm guessing that her and Phil got divorced because her last name was different later, so he wasn't on there talking. So she said that the house, when they went out there, like I said, it was just kind of on this big flat piece of sort of like farmland-ish type situation. She said it looked really peaceful when they first saw it, and she said a very weird thing. She said the air was like breathing champagne, and I was like, so like drowning in bubbles? I mean, I guess I get what she's going for, but I was like, I thought that was just like a weird way to phrase it. So this is like an old house. It's like over 100 years old, and it's actually pretty big. It's not quite as big as the one they show in the show, because I've seen pictures of the real one, but it's similar. It looked kind of similar. So they also got 2 kids. They got a 13-year-old daughter named Tina and a 14-year-old son named Mike. I think that's what it was. They were 13 and 14. So like I said, Mike appears on the show like as a grown-up, obviously. So Mike said he was real into wildlife like at the time. So he really liked all the woods that surrounded the house. So he would like go and hang out back there. So when they're in there deciding to buy the house, with the realtor and all that, they see that there's a door that goes to like a crawl space type closet kind of thing, like under the stairs. So the door is stuck, but they eventually kind of pry it open. So Clara said even before they moved in, she said she thought the crawl space was weird, like looking in it like gave her a funny feeling, because like inside there, like I said, it was kind of like an understairs closet type thing. And she said there was like an old bricked up fireplace in there, which she thought was really strange. And then she was just kind of like, well, maybe it's just because I grew up in the city and I've never been out in the country really all that much. And maybe that's just what they do out here. I don't really know. So it's just kind of like, okay, whatever.
To me, it sounds like the house was redesigned.
That's kind of what I was suspecting too. Yeah. That maybe that was like part of another room and then they just like made into a storage thing. You know, like what happens all over hundreds of years.
They moved the stairs. There weren't stairs there. The stairs were somewhere else, and they built a new staircase of where the fireplace was. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
And then they turned it into a closet.
I got when they opened that crawl space door and like there was the red brick in the back, I got a very Amityville horror vibe from that. So this apparently happened before all of that Amityville horror nonsense, but
that's why they bricked the fireplace up. You couldn't use a fireplace that was underneath in a closet.
Yeah, that would be
That's
dumb.
all it is.
Don't do that. Yeah. So Tom Sykes says slave quarters maybe.
No.
Well, I don't know. I kind of suspect that they probably just the house was probably just redesigned or remodeled or something.
Those old Victorian houses didn't make any goddamn sense. I lived in one.
Yeah.
You had to walk through all the rooms to get anywhere. There was no central hallway.
That always like cracked me up.
Yeah. To go to the bathroom, you walking through people's rooms.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Didn't make any goddamn
sense. You're like, what kind of room is this? It's just a room.
Everybody's like sleeping or like sitting in front of the computer jerking off or whatever it is they're doing, and then you're like walking through the room. Excuse me.
A house with no hallways.
That's just so weird to me.
Yeah, and it wasn't always like that. They had changed it a couple times.
I mean,
some floors did have hallways, but the bottom floor didn't.
People's lives were much different back then. Well, I kind of feel like too. I think, I mean, at least just from what I've read, is that in the old days, if you had a 2-story house, like the first floor was considered like the public floor. That was where you met guests and everything like that. Right. So they didn't really have.
Yeah, and then it was everything else was bedrooms.
Right.
And so the downstairs. But the thing is, in the modern era, they're trying to rent each floor out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To multiple people. You know that.
Yeah.
They try to turn them into like apartments.
Yeah.
Basically, they didn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, don't make any goddamn sense.
They don't make any goddamn sense. And I don't think home builders fucking thought too much about anything. They just laid out the rooms to look pretty. They didn't think about utility that much. Not in the Victorian era.
Yeah, they were just like,
we're
just gonna put a bunch of rooms together,
pretty rooms in a city room,
and you'll just like it.
Yeah, none of the shit was fucking efficient. None of it made any sense. And we'll put a parlor here and another parlor over here and some rooms here.
So many parlors.
Oh, put the bathtub right there. You know,
so everybody can troop through and watch you take a bath with your little back scrubber. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up? So she, I don't know. She just thought that was like weird that was there. So anyway. So a few months after they buy the house, they move in. So Clara's brother, I don't know if they said what his name was, but he was helping them with the move. And he actually got to the house a few hours before they did, like with his truck. And he was taking stuff inside, like boxes and shit. Now, as soon as he opened the front door, like a couple of bees like flew out at him. And then when he went inside the house, he noticed that there was just loads and loads of like dead bees all over the floor. And then plus there was like a shit ton of live ones like crawling all over the window. So again, very Amityville horror. That except you know that was flies obviously, but same principle anyway. So the rest of the family gets there, and the brother is like walking out with a dustpan full of dead bees. And Clara's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Man, the place is just full of bees." You know what I mean? And they thought it was a little bit weird because they said, "Well, it's not really the time of year that bees would be swarming around or anything like that." But, you know, Clara just kind of brushed it off. She's like, well, I guess I'll have to get used to living out here in the country with all these fucking creatures and all that. So she said other than that, I mean, there wasn't anything weird at the beginning. Like, they really liked living out there. They said it was a lot more relaxing than living in the city, and it was just kind of ideal for them, and they were just having a great fucking time. A few weeks after they moved in, though, Mike, who's the son, and a couple of the neighbor kids are out exploring the woods. So the neighbor boys are like, yeah, man, we know these woods like the back of our hand. But then, you know, they didn't really seem to. It's like, yeah, which way is my house then? I don't know, that way. So, you know, they're full of shit. So while they're in the woods, they hear kind of twigs breaking, like maybe a footstep or something. And then they see this tall, what looked like a teenage boy, like walking past them carrying like a rifle, right? Mm-hmm. So they yell after the kid, telling him it's like, hey, this is private property. Like, what are you doing here? But he just ignores them. So they run after him for a little bit, but then he seems to just kind of like disappear into the surrounding woods, and they're not entirely sure where he could have gone. I'm not super clear on whether they actually saw him like wink out of existence, or the way that the reenactment showed it was that they were following him and they could see him and they could see him, and then like they kind of crested a ridge or something and they looked down and then he was just gone. And there's like nowhere that he could have gone. And that grown-up Mike actually said he disappeared, but I don't know what he meant. You know what I mean? I don't know if he meant he actually went and disappeared or what. Or they just didn't know where he went to. So Mike runs back to his house and tells his mom that they saw a ghost. And the fact that he told her that makes me suspect that maybe, yeah, they did see him disappear, because otherwise they would just think it was a guy, right? So while they're telling her that, though, like, the mom's on the phone and she's not really listening, like, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, she couldn't really be bothered because she was kind of busy. Now, a few weeks after that, Clara has kind of, like, forgotten about Mike's whole story about seeing the ghost in the woods. But she's out in the woods walking the dog, whose name is Madison, by the way. And she hears something while she's out in the woods that she said sounded like Gregorian chants, which would be a little weird, hearing that coming out of nowhere. And she also said that she felt surrounded by something. That's a quote. So the dog seemed also wigged out by this situation and kind of like takes off running. So she kind of like chases the dog home. So Clara's telling her husband, because he's away at work all the time. Like I said, he works in Buffalo still. So he's, not home as much because of the commute and everything. So she calls him and tells him about this weird noise she heard in the woods, but he doesn't entirely believe her. She said, I'm not sure he actually like disbelieved me, but he was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I don't have time for this bullshit right now or something like that. So like I said, he's away at work a lot. So she kind of feels like a little bit unsupported, I suppose. So she tells Mike about this sound, just like, yeah, I heard this weird chanting like out in the woods. So Mike is trying to come up with something. He's like, well, there was a campground not too far from where they lived. It's like maybe somebody was at the campground and they were like playing a radio that just happened to be playing Gregorian chants or something like that. It's like, who knows? So it's like, maybe it was that. Maybe there's a logical explanation. But they kind of suspect that maybe there might be something weird going on. So him and the two other kids, the two boys, go into the woods to the same place where the mom was to see if they could hear the same noise as well, just to like check it out. So while they're going out there, I guess like nothing really egregious happened, but they started getting creeped out. It was daytime, it was at night. And so one of the kids started to go back. But Mike and one of the other kids, whose name was Matt, they continue on into this kind of like clearing type of thing. And then they said, it feels kind of weird right here. So they decide they're just going to stand there and like close their eyes and sort of like meditate and see if any supernatural shit happens, right? So Mike
almost
is
like a seance when you think about it.
Yeah, they were that seemed like they were kind of what they were trying to do. Like they were trying to like commune with whatever was out there in the woods or whatever. So they do that for a few minutes, and then Mike's like, nothing's happening, this is bullshit. And Matt's like, just chill, just concentrate.
That might be enough to start poltergeist.
It might be,
Yeah, just trying to bring it to the forefront. Hey, let's see some weird shit happen. That might be enough to start the process of tension and stress that you need. Expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting how this one started out the same kind of way, like with just the suggestion of something in the woods. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Camp Guy said, y'all got me to watch a couple episodes of Hoarders. Oh, man, we watched another one last night, too, and they got another bag shitter.
Dude, shitting in bags.
They got another bag shitter.
And just keeping it. Kid didn't even throw his own shit away.
Every now and then you do come across a bag shitter on that show, because as soon as it came on, I'm like, oh, no, it's another bag shitter.
It's the worst kind, man.
Yeah, once they start shitting in bags, that's pretty much all she
That's
wrote.
a wrap.
They usually can't be helped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They sometimes, I think the one woman they had on there a long time ago that was a bag shitter, I think they had to have her committed.
Yeah, they kicked her out of her house.
And I think they tore the house down because it was completely destroyed.
Yeah. The shit had eaten through the floor.
The
ceiling.
Yeah.
Because she was just stacking it up in the bathroom.
In the bathroom corner.
On the bathroom corner. Fucking the whole fucking bathroom was stacked with fucking bags of shit. And it had eaten through the floor.
Yeah.
Nasty bitch, man.
That's
nasty woman.
Yeah. Same thing happened with this guy last night.
And she laughed it off like it was no big deal.
Yeah, that's really weird. Like I said, that's...
Her ass walked off and fucking got into a damn van. And then they took her off.
Took her away.
Took her away. Fucking, she laughed the whole way.
That's what I mean.
To the fucking loony bin. Yeah.
Bag shitters, man.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, I'm just like, oh no, it's a bag shitter. Yep. That's so gross. It just makes me want to fucking vomit watching that stuff. All right, so where was I? Okay, so the two boys are out in the woods doing their, closing their eyes and trying to concentrate or whatever. And while they're doing that, they said they heard a sound. They said it sounded like an axe hitting wood, like somebody hitting a tree or a log or something, with an axe. It sounded like that, like thwack. And then they hear the very distinct sound of a woman screaming, which, that freaks them out. Like I said, it could have been, I kind of feel like if I was in the woods and heard a woman screaming, you might want to go and check that out, because that could actually be a human woman that's in trouble or something, and she could be getting murdered, and maybe you want to help her out.
There's a lot of animals that sound like that.
Well, yeah, that
Rabbits
too.
Can sound like that.
I wouldn't immediately jump to ghost, is what I'm saying.
Peacocks can fucking sound like that. They say a peacock sounds just like a screaming woman.
It does.
I never heard it.
I've heard it.
Yeah. But
not exactly like a screaming woman, but similar enough that if you heard it, it would like really. It's a weird sound. Yeah. Peacocks make a really weird sound.
A rabbit getting eaten up, fucking getting shaken to death, or fucking under a lot of stress can make a cry that sounds like a little child or a person. And from a distance, it might be able to fool you. So I don't know what to make of it. What they're saying, it could be a lot.
Yeah,
of stuff.
I mean, if it was, I mean, the
they were young too.
Gregorian chants is much weirder. Sorry, I'm having this so I can write some stuff down. Because Tom Sykes had a paranormal show about the famous medium, the Eddy brothers, Horatio and William Eddy, from Vermont, would make a good show. Actually, that's cool because I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Yeah. So I'm gonna write that down. But yeah, so if it was anything other than a scream, I don't know. I just kind of feel like Gregorian chants is weird. A woman screaming, you might want to check that out. Because like I said, it could be an actual woman screaming who's getting murdered by a serial killer. Or it could be an animal. Like you said, it could be a peacock or lots of other things. Or a fox or lots of other things.
There's a lot of things that can happen in a natural environment if your mind's playing tricks on you. And you're trying to listen real hard. You'll kind of sometimes hear whatever it is you want to hear. I remember we'd be up in Korea. And fucking, it was just the sound of wind blowing through the trees every now and then, and just regular sounds in nature. I wanted to get the fuck out of there, you know what I mean? And we were waiting for something, waiting for trucks, come get us. And I could swear I heard those trucks coming. And I heard those trucks coming for 5 or 6 hours. And they never showed up. But if you listened long enough, and you listened hard enough, you could really thought you heard the trucks coming.
Yeah, I've had that kind of
stuff. But it's just
before.
The background noise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're amplifying it because you're expecting
it.
Something else.
So
I've had that happen.
They may have been listening for something, and they, in their minds, they say, "Hear that?" It goes, "Yeah, it sounds like music. Yeah, it sounds kind of like Gregorian chanting, but they can't quite make it out."
Well, now the mom heard that by herself. Yeah. The kids didn't hear that.
But it might have just been her. You know?
Yeah,
just like putting your ear up to a damn seashell, you hear the. So, well, being out in the damn wild, sometimes you hear that. You just hear it's like a white noise that you can pull anything out of it. You know, you go, "Oh, that sounds like a train." The other guy goes, "No, it sounds like an airplane."
Yeah.
"No, it sounds like the ocean." Another guy's going, "No, it sounds. It could be. It sounds like trucks." You know. It's just white noise, and you're kind of just pulling anything you want out of it. You know.
Camp Guy said about hoarders. Do they have houses that they are not able to clean out? Yes.
Yeah, they tear them down.
They have ones. Well, they definitely have ones that they don't finish because they give themselves like a 4-day limit, and they do have a massive crew, so usually they get most of it cleaned out. But they have had numerous occasions where they got it partially cleaned out, and then the house was just kind of like not livable.
Yeah.
So they basically said, well, now we have to get all the shit out of here, and they have to tear it down. So sometimes the houses do have to get torn down just because the people didn't take care of them, and they just like got so moldy or falling apart or rotten that they couldn't.
When I
remember
remember is they cleaned the whole house out, and then the walls didn't meet the floor anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
The garbage had eaten
the floor. Yeah.
So you could see outside the house.
Uh-huh.
The garbage was holding the damn wall together.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they were like, and then the fucking floors were just fucking getting ready to
they
bust through, and because it was just filled with fucking cat shit and dead cats. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Cat shit.
Dead cats, that was more than
rats.
one. They found like dead animals.
Yeah, and the fucking woman living in there was pissing on the floor and shit. Fucking, it was. And they just said, "No, the house has got to go." They got it cleaned out, but then they came later and they just fucking tore it down, the whole house.
They bulldozed it.
Bulldozed it and fucking just hauled it up.
I mean, when you have the hoarders that keep all their garbage, because some of them do, like it's not just people that it's like, oh, we just buy shit and put it in the pile in the house, which is bad too, but some people can't throw anything away, so their house is full of garbage.
Yeah.
Which means there's rats and roaches and all kind of other stuff in there. And it's just the walls mold and the floor molds and everything just starts falling apart. So, it's pretty gross. Blockfrog said, my friend made me laugh so hard once outside, and later a cop came and said the neighbors heard a woman screaming. Later we were like, dude, I think that was because of my laugh. Yeah. I wonder if that's what it was. That's super funny. All right, so where was I? Oh, okay. So they thought they heard a woman screaming. So this freaks them out, and they start running back toward the house. And then Mike, at some point, gets his foot tangled in a vine or some shit. And I was like, ooh, is this going to go like all Evil Dead? This is... we had Amityville Horror, now it's going to go Evil Dead. Like, the plants are coming to get him. So Matt, like, comes back to help him. And then the other kid comes back, too. Like, the one that, you know, kind of fucked off, like, near the beginning before they even heard the screaming. He comes back just so he can provide a jump scare. You know what I mean? Because, like, while the kids are, oh, my God, I got to help your ankle. Oh, my God, legs. Oh, it's you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was that kind of thing. So they did a jump scare right there with that other... That guy's like, what? I didn't do anything. All right, so once they're back at the house, Mike tells his mom what he heard in the woods, and she kind of gets bad at him. She's like, well, you know, you need to stay out of the woods because it's too dangerous. She's like, whatever it is that's out there, we don't want to know, which, you know, that's fair enough. So Clara says at this point, she started to suspect that something was wrong, although they're still kind of like trying to dismiss it. Because she said, you know, we had a great life other than that, so it was easier to just be like, oh, maybe it's our imagination or some shit like that. So one day, Phil, the dad, is taking the kids, Tina and Mike, into town, and Clara wants to stay home alone to kind of like relax and read, and we'll be quiet for a couple of hours while everyone else is gone. So she's laying on the couch with her book and everything. She's got all the windows open because I guess the weather's nice. And then she said, I don't know if she saw this or heard it or what, but the way that they showed it on the reenactment was that one of the open windows like slammed shut like by itself. And then she was kind of like, what the fuck? And like she got up to check, and then when she got up to check, all the windows were still open. So it's like, I don't know if she actually saw the thing close, and then when she got up, it wasn't closed, or if she just heard it slammed close and then got up. You know what I mean? Yeah. It looked like she looked at it like closing, and they showed it closing. But then I was like, oh, that's pretty weird. But she's like, yeah, when I went and looked, all of them were still open. So she's like, I didn't really understand what had happened. So there was that. Now, a few nights after that, Mike is sleeping in his bed. And then, like, some stuff that's on the shelf, like, above him. I don't know why you would put stuff, like, on a shelf, like, right over your head like this, especially, like, heavy shit, but, you know. So stuff starts to kind of, like, slide out and fall on him. So it's, like, a chess set in a box, and it was, like, a box of checkers, you know what I mean? So he looks up there, and he sees the shit, like, scooting, like, out, like, by itself, and he's weirded out because he's like, the games were underneath a pile of magazines, but the magazines didn't fall. So it's almost like the boxes were kind of like coming out from underneath the pile of magazines. So he's like, what the fuck? And like he calls his mom, and you know, she was kind of freaked out too, because she's like, you know, Mike is really logical, so he wouldn't have just like made that up. Because he was saying to her, he's like, look, the shit like scooted out from underneath the pile of magazines, and then the magazines just went like that. He's like, that can't really happen. I don't know any law of physics that would allow that. So after that, Clara's like, she started to think that whatever it was in the woods that they had been hearing was maybe coming in the house now. So yeah, this is kind of like the last week when, you know. Tom Sykes said, Tom, did you make that split pea soup yet? The Reagan vomit. No, he hasn't made it yet. We still got the ham, like, but you know, we had ham sandwiches early.
I tell you what I did do. I went down to the got you some more ice right there.
Oh, thanks.
Went down to the dollar store. And little Debbie came out with a new dessert. Instead of oatmeal pies, they're called snickerdoodle pies. Mm-hmm. It's like 2 snickerdoodle cookies back to back with that marshmallow cream filling out of the oatmeal pie. And I got them. They're new.
And it seemed like they had more cream filling in there. It was like poofier.
Yeah, Jenny liked them too.
Yeah, I liked them too.
If you like snickerdoodle cookies, man, they're real good.
And weirdly, I don't love the oatmeal pies because I don't usually like that marshmallow cream. Yeah. But for some reason, it really works with the snickerdoodle. Man. And it's very cinnamony, which I like.
Yeah, you get 2 boxes of them for $5. 2 big old boxes.
Good old Dollar General.
Yeah.
They got all the little Debbies.
Yeah,
we still got.
They buy them up though, man. They're gone. You know what else they had? They had Hostess, and then they had Little Debbie. Donuts. You know, they got the little powdered donuts and little chocolate donuts too. Do you know?
Yeah.
Little Debbie make
I got some
in a bag.
Right around Halloween. I got a bag of pumpkin spice ones, like little mini donuts.
They're mini donuts.
Yeah, they were powdered, but they had like pumpkin spice in them. They were pretty good actually. They were like spice cake.
Yeah, the powdered donuts are so good when you microwave them just for a few seconds. Man,
yeah.
Just like they come out of the deep fryer.
He's getting like distracted by donuts again.
Yeah,
I was
cheap donuts.
Yeah,
cheap dollar store.
Hey man, you gotta like. I don't mind. I'm not a dessert snob.
Yeah,
I'll eat pretty much any dessert, to be honest with you. It's all good. It's like some little bit of happiness. If it's only costs $1, then that's even better. So the shit falls on his head, and he's like weirded out by it. So at this point, Clara goes to a nearby university to talk to a Catholic priest about the problem, because that's what you do. I guess she was raised Catholic, although she didn't say she was particularly religious, but, she thought, well, that's what you do. So they call the guy Father Al. I think his name is Alphonsius or something like that. I found it somewhere else, but I don't think they mentioned it on the show. So he's kind of seems like specifically into paranormal stuff. So he immediately thinks, like, after she describes what's going on, that it might be a poltergeist, like you said. And he gives, like, a pretty accurate description of what a poltergeist is. And Clara, though, she said, well, she was kind of dubious about that because she's like, from what I knew of poltergeist, they didn't really seem to have a mind behind them. Like, I guess, like, intention or something.
They do, though.
I know, but I'm just saying that's just in her perception.
Yeah, in her perception.
So she's like, so she thought that whatever was haunting the house, like, seemed to have an intelligence behind it or an intent behind it. Yeah. And she was under the, under the of the opinion that poltergeist didn't have that, so she wasn't really sure if that's what it was. But that's pretty much the first thing and like I said, I'm not sure exactly what the real guy said, but I like that this guy was just kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds like a poltergeist. Like, he didn't do like, oh, it's a demon or anything like, or have you guys been playing with a Ouija board or anything like that. He immediately jumped to poltergeist, which is probably, if it happened the way it happened, that's probably
he was an educated priest.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he seemed to like know a lot about like parapsychology type thing, or he seemed to be interested in that kind of stuff. So he's like, well, tell you what, I'll come out to the house and do a mass if that will make you feel better, and then we'll see what we can see. So he comes out and does the thing. Now, Clara said, I went to Catholic school when I grew up, and she's like, I was kind of under the mistaken impression that you get, from the movies and everything, you get the priest to come out, and he does the mass, and then everything's fixed. Like, Bob's your uncle. That's like the end of it. So the whole family, like, participates in the mass, like, expecting that this is going to fix it, One night, though, while Phil is away on business, Clara is asleep, and then she's awakened by something that sounds like, I guess it sounded like a girl, like, giggling or laughing or making some kind of noise, like, outside her room, like, in the hallway. So she goes out and she's like walking down the stairs, and she sees a girl like walking along the hall. Now at first she thought it was her daughter Tina, because she just kind of, I guess, saw her from the back. But then like the girl opened a door and went into a room, which I guess was Tina's room. But then like she runs down there and opens the door to Tina's room, and Tina is like sound asleep in the bed, and there's nobody else in there.
They were wearing different clothes too.
Yeah, and it was like different clothes. Like, you know what I mean? She said, I guess it was kind of dark, but she said, I thought it was Tina at first, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty weird. So in the morning, Tina, the daughter, she wakes up and, says hi to her little birdie. Like, as soon as I saw that little birdie in the cage, I'm like, uh-oh, nothing bad's gonna happen to that birdie, is it? Nothing does. I worried about that too, like when I saw the dog earlier, but nothing bad happens to the dog either. So I was just kind of like, just telling you. So she's sitting in front of the mirror, brushing her hair or whatever. And then she said that she saw, well, I don't know if she saw this. The real girl wasn't on the show. But she said there was like a ghost of like a stringy haired woman like standing behind her. Like she sees her in the mirror. So she like starts screaming bloody murder. Clara comes rushing in, and her mom, like, she tells her mom what she saw, and then she realized that the priest's mass didn't do jack shit. And she said that kind of surprised her because, like I said, she'd always been taught that was what you did and it was supposed to work. Like, it wasn't supposed to just keep coming back. So Clara calls Father Al and tells him what happened. She's like, I want my money back. I didn't pay for the shit, but you know what I mean. And he says, okay, well, this is clearly beyond my pay grade. So I'm going to bring in a paranormal expert out there, like ASAP. So that weekend, though, like Mike is out with his friends. Tina's sleeping in her room. Clara and Phil are watching TV downstairs. And Phil hears something. I couldn't tell what the sound was at first, but he hears something and he turns off the TV. And then there's like a breaking or kind of crashing sound from outside. So they go out with a flashlight to check and see what the fucking noise was. And while they're standing there looking at the garbage cans, all the garbage cans gonna go like upended, you know what I mean? So they assume it's, guess what? Raccoons.
Where is that raccoon?
Yeah, I even said that when we were watching the thing. I was like, where is that raccoon? Because he even kind of says it like that. Raccoons, you know what I mean? He says it like that. So they're kind of like looking around the rest of the house just to make sure that like nobody's breaking in or anything. So while they're looking in one of the windows or passing one of the windows from outside, they see a girl in the window, like looking out at them. So at first, like they think it's Tina, so they run back inside the house, but then they find Tina sitting in her room, like in front of her mirror. They're calling to her, but she doesn't respond to them. Like, she just keeps staring at the mirror, and it's, like, super freaky, and her eyes are all black. Like, they're not all black. Like, the pupils are black. And I guess, I don't know what color her normal eyes are, but the actress's eyes were blue. So they kind of went all black, and it was, like, really freaky. So she kind of, like, comes to, like, a second later, and then she asks Clara, didn't she say something like, am I going crazy, or something that? Yeah. Because she just, like, she got possessed or some shit. So at this point, Clara's like, she was starting to get really mad because the thing is now like messing with her kids. So she's like, I'm going to kick this ghost ass pretty much. So then they all hear something upstairs, like somebody walking around. So the phone rings, Clara answers it, and it's Mike. He's like, hey, can I stay over with my friend Randy? That's whose house he was at. But Clara's like, no, man, like all kind of crazy paranormal shit is going on. So Mike's like, okay, well, I'm going to come back. So he comes back home and brings Randy with him. And he pretty much tells Randy in the car on the way, he's like, man, all kind of like weird shit is happening in my house. And the grown-up Randy is also on the show too, like the real Randy. He's also on there too. Because he saw some of the shit too, apparently. So they said, the two of them, Mike and Randy, they said when they got to the house, Phil, the dad, is running around like a chicken with his head cut off. That's what they said. So while they're all in the front hallway, kind of like trying to figure out what to do because all this weird paranormal shit that's happening, they said the lights all went off in the hall that they were in, even though the power was still on in the rest of the house. Like, so it was just all the lights where they were went out. So then they start hearing scratching coming from the crawl space, the thing underneath the stairs.
Common poltergeist sound effect.
Yeah, very scratching. That's what they do. So they go to open it, door sticks again, but they finally get it open. And this was pretty weird. I think this was like my favorite part. So they open the crawl space door and they find that all the bricks from the old fireplace were now all stacked in the middle of the floor.
Typical poltergeist.
Which is very weird to say the least. And like, Clara said it's like somebody really like worked very hard disassembling. I mean, I don't know what it looked like in real life, but on the reenactment they showed somebody had disassembled this whole like facing of the fireplace, and there's just a pile of bricks like in the middle of the floor, which would have taken some effort.
I think a poltergeist ability can do it quickly. And
silently. Yeah, I'm just saying that.
You can't be looking at it at the time. It's something quantum.
It's pretty. It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Pretty weird.
I guess objects are kind of massless when they're under the influence of fucking whatever phenomenon is responsible for fucking poltergeist. It's some kind of quantum physics.
Yeah,
weird shit.
They can just move shit around.
Yeah, it just moves it. It's it. I've only caught a few things actually moving, and it's always out of the corner of my eyes. And Jenny saw it, but it has a kind of a weird weightless movement to it. The sounds aren't right. It's just weird when you see it.
Tom Sykes said, what state did this take place in again? It's New York. It's Western New York, like not too far from Buffalo. Yeah. It's in a place called Hinsdale. Murder Hornet asked if you got your package. Yeah, he got it. Okay. So Clara said that when they saw that, like the brick situation, she said that was when she realized this thing is too strong for them to fight it. Because it's like, if it could do that, like, immediately or whatever, then yeah, we're kind of hosed. So Father Al comes back one night with a psychic person named Alex Tanis.
Yeah.
Who...
The guy they got playing this role is a trip, man.
He's, he's committed to the role. I like it. I like to see it.
He does everything very slow.
I don't know if that's what the real guy is like. The real guy looks like he has like a black mustache. He kind of looks like Doug Henning, if you guys remember who that is. Like that magician from the 70s.
This dude's got... this dude, when he's doing the role, he's got some serious gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying a word of what he's saying, though, but...
No, me neither.
Yeah.
But, you know, I like I said, I appreciate the actor that's in it.
Yeah. You got
Although, I guess, he went all in. Which I respect that. The guy's last name, if you want to look him up, by the way, because I was thinking it was Tanis, like Tanis Root, like in Rosemary's Baby. But it's not. It's Tanous, which I never would have guessed in a million years. I would have thought Tannis, but whatever. So apparently he did get studied by the American Society for Psychical Research. And I found out later that he had actually written 4 or 5 books, and was also the subject of a paper in a journal called Paranthropology, Journal of Anthropological Approaches to the Paranormal. And this paper was called Out of the Body and Into the Lab, Defining Dr. Alice Tannis's Abilities. That was published in 2013. So if you want to like look that up, I didn't like, because like I said, I don't think I could read it because I think it just had the what do you call it? It was like behind a paywall.
I never heard of the guy.
Yeah, I hadn't either, but I don't know. I'll look more into him later. So Alex goes into the crawl space. So whenever we say crawl space, I always think of like a literal crawl space. Like you got to get down like a crawl space. But this is like a closet. It's like a full. You can walk into it. Yeah. It's just like a closet.
It's a storage area.
Yeah,
underneath the damn closet.
Yeah, it's like it's understairs closet. It's not a crawl space. Yeah. Crawl space. I think like you have to crawl into it.
Yeah.
Like I would think that's why they call it that. Hence the name. So he starts feeling some psychic vibes, man. And the family like starts to tell him, "Hey, we got like some weird shit." He's like, "No. Don't tell me anything."
Yeah.
And then he does the thing like a lot of the actors do, like on this show when they're having psychic vibes. They tilt their head to the side and close their eyes and kind of squinch their face up like, oh, it is too painful.
He's dialing in.
The visions, they are too painful. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
So he was making faces like that. So so they're like, oh, what do you see? And it was like, lots of bodies. That's what he sees, like lots of bodies.
Many people have died here over the years. Some natural causes. Some of them murders, and they're going, whoa.
Ooh, right. That sounds like creepy.
But we have to get down to the bottom of this, just
see. People love that shit. It's like hearing a scary story around the fire. You know what I mean? Like I said, nobody wants a psychic to come to your house and be like, yeah, it's just nothing but boring shit happened in your house. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, yeah, there was all kind of a serial killer lived here.
This place was the place where stagecoaches would stop the night. People were killing them and robbing them of their money. Isn't that what he said? Or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just getting to. Yeah, because he started... So he starts having visions of bodies. He has like a little meeting with the family in the living room. He's like, I have a very strong feeling that many people died in this house. Yeah. Some of natural causes. Yeah. Some murdered.
Yeah.
He claims that the property used to be a stagecoach stop. And he thinks that someone, I'm presuming somebody that lived in and or worked at the house... robbed and killed a bunch of travelers and stashed their bodies in the crawl space until they could be buried.
Things like this did happen.
I'm not saying that it's impossible. Yeah. Like, who was that? What was that fucking show that we did a long time ago about the family?
Yeah, there's a family that was doing it.
Was it the Bloody Benders?
Yeah, and there was even other ones that were selling their bodies as cadavers to fucking science, if I remember correctly, too. Weren't they doing that in England?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and then the doctors weren't asking any questions.
Well, Burke and Hare did that.
Yeah.
Well, because after a while, and I think we talked about this when we talked about the Burke and Hare, about Burke and Hare, was that for a while, you weren't really allowed, the cadavers that you cut up, like for medical research or, anatomy classes or whatever, they could only be like criminals and shit like that. So they didn't have enough bodies. So there was like a pretty brisk black market in bodies. So people would like steal bodies. They wouldn't necessarily murder people. Burke and Hare did. But Burke and Hare started out just digging up corpses, like fresh ones. And then they were like, it would go a lot quicker if we just like fucking cut out the middleman and just killed the people.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have to wait around for somebody to drop dead. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So that's what happens. So... Burke and Hare, I think that's what actually made the law change, where it's like, there's a certain amount of bodies that have to be like given to the thing or whatever. Because before it, they had to be criminals because they thought it was sacrilegious or something, I guess.
Yeah.
Like to cut bodies out.
That went all the way back to ancient Rome. They weren't allowed to do it in ancient Rome either. I don't even think ancient Greece could do it.
Yeah.
A lot of countries did that. Rome actually banned live animal experimentation because they had a guy who was cutting pigs up alive and trying to figure out how they worked.
Shit, man.
And fucking...
that's horrifying.
Some Roman senators went to go see this, and the guy had evidently made some really great advances in how the body works. And then Roman senators saw it, then go, no, this is an affront to the gods. You know what I mean? Fucking,
it is.
You can't do this.
Up.
And they fucking banned fucking live animal experimentation too.
That's pretty fucked up.
Well, they wouldn't allow them fucking cutting into fucking cadavers and shit.
That's what I mean. So, it's like at least
shit could go sideways.
That's what I'm saying. It's much better to like let people cut up on cadavers than fucking live pigs, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, dude was
cadaver doesn't care.
They'd have the fucking pig tied up in a big thing where it couldn't move, and they'd go in there and start operating on it while it was alive, and looking at the heartbeat and then and all that. And
see, that's fucked up. Yeah, vivisection.
Yeah, vivisection. But I can kind of understand it.
I do too,
Under
but
those circumstances,
yeah,
they wanted to know.
It's still messed up.
And it was a doctor doing it.
I wouldn't be able
making
to
drawings, and they wanted to know what the heart actually did. Fucking. I don't think a whole lot of detail was left from it. That's just all I remember. They're fascinated about the heart and the lungs and all that.
Yeah, messed up.
They didn't know about respiration.
Yeah, they had to figure everything.
They had to figure it all out. Yeah,
they didn't know shit back then.
Oh.
But yeah, so yeah, it's not crazy to think that, because there was, anytime you had like a hub of a place like back in the old days where a lot of people were stopping, a lot of travelers were stopping, then yeah, you were going to get people that preyed on that situation. So it's not crazy to think that, but I don't think it happened in this particular house, you know what I mean? So they're stashing the bodies in the crawl space until they can be buried, like I said. So he says that there are 7 spirits in the house. So Clara thinks, wow, like this dude's legit, you know what I mean? Like this is the right guy to have brought to the house, I guess. So after they leave, Clara thinks that just the psychic being there has like calmed the place down, because I guess like the haunting or whatever it was like kind of chilled out for a little while. Mike and Randy, though, probably wisely, are kind of skeptical of the psychic story, so they decide they're going to go into the woods one night to see if they can find some kind of proof that this did actually used to be like a stage. I don't know what they were looking for exactly, but, they were teenagers. So while they were out in the woods at night, though, they see, like, this strange lights, like, out in the trees. In the reenactment, I guess it looked like a bunch of orbs, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like a bunch of little lights flying around like that. So I don't know if that's exactly what they saw, but they did say it was kind of weird. Randy then said like he felt like he couldn't breathe, and he felt like someone had him in a bear hug, like somebody was like just doing him like that, and he couldn't breathe, like squeezing him. So they ran back to the house and told Clara, mom. They're like, yeah, we got to do something about this shit because like it's getting scary. But Clara thinks it's like, well, I don't think we should do anything because it's dangerous and we might get like fucked over. And at this point, while they're all like talking in the front of the house, like the doorknob on the front door like starts turning, like ostensibly by itself, like the lock turns and everything. So they're just like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck's going on? So Clara is kind of like, she was been trying to hold it together this whole time, but she's kind of starting to lose it a little bit. 'Cause she's like, look, we're gonna have to fucking move because like nothing we've done has like helped, and we can't really afford to move. It's kind of a situation where we sunk all our money into this house and shit like that, like you do. And she was like, also, me and the kids didn't really want to get beaten by whatever this thing was anyway. Like, they felt like they didn't really just want to run away from it. Now, a few days after this, a cop comes to the door and tells Clara that Mike has been in an accident. Now, I'm assuming it was a car accident. I thought he was only 14, or that's what they said at the beginning. But then I think this maybe happened over a longer time span, because when I read an article about it later, they said the family actually lived there for 4 years. So I'm guessing that this happened, and they just like compressed it for the show because he looked like the same age. Because I'm like, 14-year-old kids should not be driving. But yeah, so I'm assuming this happened like later on when he was old enough to have a driver's license. So Mike has a serious head injury and a ruptured spleen, so they actually had to remove the spleen. So the state trooper said that when they were pulling him out of the car, like after the accident, Mike said that someone else was in the car with him, but they couldn't find anybody else at the scene, and they're like, it didn't look like anybody else was in the car.
Did he have a head injury?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what they're talking about. I had one of those too.
Yeah.
No, his memory was fucked up. He probably thought he was talking to somebody and everything because his memories got all jumbled up. He's probably, some of those memories might have been from 3 or 4 days before the accident.
Yeah, because it's like your brain gets all scrambled like in those kind of situations, and it kind of like messes all your.
I woke up in the hospital. They said, "What the last thing you remember?" And I says, "Oh, I was talking to my friend Mike. I was talking to him in his living room. That bookcase fell on me. The bookcase. That's why I got hurt. I thought the bookcase fell on me."
What a weird thing to say.
Because that was my last memory. So I thought a bookcase fall on me.
Well, wait, did you actually have a bookcase fall on you?
No, there was a bookcase behind me.
Oh, okay.
That was the only thing that
that was the last thing you could remember?
Thing I remember.
So that was what you thought
must
have
happened. That's what I thought happened. But then
Isn't
they were like, when was
interesting?
this? You know, and I fucking, you know, I think it was like on a Friday. It was like a Friday night. And they were like, no, that was like 4 days ago. And I was like, oh. But then later, the memories came back. The orders started to come, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it didn't happen then. Because I can remember the other day. But it took weeks for me for the memories all to kind of start falling back into place. That it actually got into a motorcycle wreck. I remembered that happening, kind of, right before it. Yeah, but it's just that's what happened to him.
Yeah, probably.
There was nobody in that car with him. He just remembered another time when he was driving with somebody. That was just one of his.
Yeah, I just think they kind of got they mentioned it on the show because I guess Clara, the mom, like took him saying that as she kind of like blamed whatever it was that was haunting the house for doing that to her son. Like maybe it appeared in the car and like made him wreck or something like that. I think that's kind of what they were.
His memories jumbled up.
That's probably what. I mean, that's the Occam's razor explanation. So I get like Mike is in a coma for a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
But he eventually wakes up, and like I said, Clara started to believe that the entity in the house had caused the accident. Essentially, I don't think she came right out and said that, but that was what the implication was. So I guess Mike eventually recovered and was fine because literally in the next scene, he's totally fine. Like he's just standing there, and I was just like, okay, so I guess he's okay and spleenless. So then Father Al and the psychic come back to the house, and they're gonna one last attempt they're gonna make to end this haunting, god damn it. So they think they're maybe gonna try and talk the ghost into leaving voluntarily. Can you please leave, Mr. Ghost? Thank you so much. So the priest and the psychic go into the house and start hearing creaking like footsteps, and then Alex goes into Tina's room and does his vision thing again, where he closes his eyes and squinches his face up. And he said that he had a vision of a girl that seemed like she was in pain, like lying in the bed. Then he hears like a bunch of these creepy kind of ghostly voices and senses a few other spirits. He says that he saw like a boy who was 18 or 19 who came in the house. I guess from the reenactment that this was supposed to be the kid with the gun in the woods that the boys had seen earlier.
Okay.
But I was sitting there thinking, because when we were watching it, he's like, I see a boy, and it's 18 or 19, and he came in the house, and I was like, what, he came in the house and, like, shot some motherfuckers? Like, what? But then, like, he just went off and talked about something else. So I'm like, what, he just came in the house and nothing? I guess. I don't know. He's like, because he said, yeah, there are others here, and it's, like, getting really cold in here, and blah-de-blah. So then he says that he sees one very particularly angry spirit in the room. This is the young woman who you're led to believe is the same one that Tina saw in the mirror earlier. So this ghost woman is apparently telling him that she doesn't want to leave the house. And she said that she used to lock herself in this room and not come out. And I guess she still doesn't want to come out. She doesn't want the other energies, the other ghosts, to leave either. Because I guess she likes having them as roommates. So basically, I mean, Alex tells her to get the fuck out. But she seems to like argue with him. That's like in the reenactment, they just kind of have her standing all creepily like over by the window and you can't really see her face, and he's just sitting there, no, you have to leave, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know what
you must leave.
I don't know what she's protesting about it.
You must leave this house. Yeah,
Murder Hornet said, go haunt my neighbor, right? It's like go out the window and like go down the street and like haunt the woods or some shit. So he tells her he's like, let go. But I guess she's not having it. She's like, nope, staying here. So fuck off. So at this point, Alex and Father Al, they're going to attempt to they call it releasing the negative energy in the house. They're doing a common exorcism. That's so common. Which is apparently all he can do without getting permission from the higher ups. Because to do the big whiz bang like exorcism, you need to you need special permission to do this. You can't just go around doing exorcisms willy nilly. Who knows what might happen?
Yeah, you might abuse it.
Right. I'm exercising.
You'd be bothering God too much. You're bothering God too much.
Oh, here's this asshole again.
Oh, you doing this shit.
Yeah. So they do the exorcism. Thank you very much, Senor Sticks. Is this another Amityville thing or Poltergeist? It was very Amityville-y, at least at the first. Yeah. At least at first, it seemed like. So they do the exorcism, and they do kind of like your standard thing where they're all standing around in a circle, and like they do the flashy lights, and there's all kind of creaky noises and everything. And Clara says, it's like, man, just like when it was done, she's like, wow, that was like powerful. Like the ghosts have to leave now. Like that was so awesome. I'm gonna have to say too that the actor that was playing Alex Tannis, I loved his facial expressions during the exorcism. Like he looked like he was just taking an apocalyptic shit. Like the whole time, like just the way that he was like scrunching his face up, it was like just making me laugh. So she says after they did the exorcism, she says the place felt, the word she used was blissful, like after the exorcism, like it felt like they did when they first moved in. So apparently though, it stayed like that for several months, but then the haunting returned later on in the year. So the family actually ended up having to move out. And they couldn't find a buyer for the house and ended up having to declare bankruptcy. So this did not have a happy ending. Clara actually said, too, that the whole ordeal really kind of, like, diminished her faith in anything, really. She said, I was kind of got to the point where I don't think formal religions, she's like, I don't think that any one of them have the one answer. Like, maybe they all have little pieces of the answer, but none of them have the entire one. And she's like, very few of them admit that this kind of thing happens. So the actual episode ends on this kind of like slow zoom, like into the house with the sound of flies, or I guess it's bees because it was bees at the beginning, but which is again like very Amityville horror. So when I looked this house up, I need to take a drink. I'm like not being able to like drink my drink because I'm like talking too much.
Yeah.
So, when I looked up this house, apparently this house is pretty well known in paranormal circles. As I mentioned, it actually turns up on TripAdvisor. You can, I guess the guy that owns it now, like, will give tours and, like, let paranormal groups in there to, like, investigate, and a lot of them have. So, since that is the case, I don't feel bad saying what the address is. The address is actually 3830 McMahon Road, that's McMahon, in Hinsdale, New York. Now, I did find some shit about this house, like, on another site. So, that was kind of, like, trying to clear up some misconceptions, I guess. So, and like I said, the woman, Clara, she actually wrote a book about it as well. So, the family lived there for 4 years, and they had a bunch of weird apparitions of multiple people. They said they all saw movement of objects, unexplainable scents. They didn't really get into that in the show. Unexplained sounds, yeah. So, when the family asked the guy to do the blessing... Now, what this particular site said is, like, on the show, they said that he did a common exorcism. They said in real life they didn't. He just did a house blessing. So, I don't know what... It's not a huge difference, but whatever. Actually, the family, when the shit hit the fan, like, when the paranormal shit was getting really bad, they actually had an article about them published in a local paper... And then everyone started making fun of them. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Alex Tannis did come there, like, and he did claim that there were 7... He actually said there were 7 murders in the house. I think on the show they said, yeah, he said there were some murders in the house, but he said there were 7 ghosts in the house. But he specifically said there were 7 murders.
Now, are they claiming this phenomenon is still going on?
I don't know, actually. I think that from what I saw, like, I looked on TripAdvisor and there was, like, it looked like a couple of paranormal groups had been there, like, recently, like, in the past few years.
Yeah.
And some of them had, like, set up there, stayed overnight or something like that, and they're like, yeah, we didn't really have anything happen, or we had, like, a couple, like, like, bullshit things
It's
happen.
poltergeist, man.
Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
It's poltergeist. It was the people in there, not the house. That's how I'm saying.
Yeah. So like I said, even though on the show they said it was an exorcism, it wasn't. It was a blessing, like I said.
Well, they might be calling the blessing a very common form of exorcism. You know,
yeah,
the words that they play word games, you know.
And I guess, even though they didn't mention this on the show, I guess one very common misconception about the house in paranormal circles is that it was built on, guess what, an Indian burial ground.
Yeah.
But that is not the case. Now, the shit that Alex Tannis said about, this used to be an inn or a stagecoach stop where people got murdered, there is no evidence that anyone can find that it was ever used as a stagecoach inn. Now, one of the... There were kind of like stories that there was a road that went past the house, like that stagecoaches went by on, so it's entirely possible that people could have stopped there, like in a stagecoach and stuff, but it wasn't an inn or anything like that. Now, there is another legend about this house, which they didn't mention on the show, but that there's a tree called the Hanging Tree, which is near the house, and that it was used for hanging people, most famously a pregnant woman named Elizabeth. That's the story. But again, there's no evidence that that's true either. There's also another legend.
Sounds unlikely. They didn't execute women that were pregnant.
No, I didn't.
Because that was killing 2 people. They'd let her give birth, and then they'd fucking execute her.
And then they'd execute her. Yeah, let's wait until she pops, and then we'll, yeah. Also, there's another legend that there was a boy that was killed in a buzzsaw accident on the property. Now, there was a boy that was killed in a buzzsaw accident, matter of fact, but he actually wasn't killed on that property. He was killed, like, somewhere else, you know what I mean? So I think people are, like, conflating two things. So I also found an article from 2017. Oh, by the way, Clara Miller Dandy, she's, like, the mom that was on here. Her name's Clara Miller now. She wrote a book about this house, and it was called Echoes of a Haunting. I don't know how available it is, but she wrote it, so there you go. So I found an article from 2017 that was about this as well, and it just kind of went a little bit into, I guess there's a guy, at least as of 2017, the guy that owns it now is named Dan Kleiss, I guess is how you pronounce his last name. And like I said, he lets people, he's actually the co-founder of the Greater West New York Paranormal Society. So I guess he bought the house specifically because of its reputation. And he lets paranormal groups stay there, evidently, and, like, he runs tours and shit like that. And people apparently still have things happen there. Like, one of the things that was in this article was this kid was in the house and, like, sat on the bed and said that he saw an angry Indian looking at him. I guess that's because of the legend about it, Indian burial ground and all that stuff. But like I said, it's not an Indian burial ground. But yeah, so, you know, and there's still the whole thing, too, the legend about there was a couple of brothers who lived there and raided stagecoaches and blah, blah. But I don't know if that's true or not. Like, they don't find any evidence of it.
What you're seeing here is that there's a good chance that a poltergeist episode happened in this house. The people who actually were the focuses of it left. But the legend lived on, though. Fucking the market wanted to turn it into a damn haunting. And then, of course, what are they going to do? Murders, Indian burial grounds.
Yeah.
Pissed off Indians.
All your standard tropes.
Yeah, that's right. That's what. So they're making that shit Hollywood as fuck. Okay. And then they try to sell tickets to it. The phenomenon's probably not going on anymore. Probably long gone. It was those kids. It was RSPK. Most likely. If anything was happening there. That's far more likely than haunted houses, you know.
Well, the good news is, if you actually want to see if there's still anything going on in the house, there is actually a Hinsdale House, that's what it's called, live stream, and it's going on all the time. Like, they just live stream the inside of the house. Yeah. It's on Facebook Live on the page of the Hinsdale House Restoration Project, and I looked at it today, and it's still going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's boring as fuck because you're just, like, looking at a room, but, you know, if you're into that kind of stuff, maybe something exciting would happen. I'm not really sure.
Haunted houses exist in reality as in the same way that they exist in folklore and these reports. I haven't seen it. I've been in bad houses. Just give you bad feelings, but I never saw anything move in them. Couldn't prove it, you know. Just feelings. And how do you prove feelings? You know. Feelings. Yeah.
Nothing.
Hard to prove feelings.
Well, yeah, because they're subjective.
And consistently people would go in there and go and be afraid in there, you know, like something was watching them. But like I said, nothing ever moved.
So that's the thing. Yeah, you can't really
prove anything.
Right, because that's everyone's like subjective.
Yeah. Did somebody send us a super chat?
Yeah, I got that a while back.
Got that? Okay.
Yeah, I got that a while back. Yep. But yeah, that's the end of my notes. So, like I said, if you want to go to the Hinsdale House Restoration Project Facebook page, you can watch a live stream of the inside of the house.
Look at Jenny. Jenny's fucking showing cleavage today. Been a long time, Jenny. You kept those fuckers leashed, holstered. You've now unholstered your femininity, coming at them, both barrels.
Okay.
It's fucking fantastic. I missed it. I missed the boobs.
What are you talking about? You see them all the time.
I see boobs all the time. Yeah, I see more super chats coming. That's right. Boobs.
Thank you again, Senor Sticks.
Yeah.
Tom and Jenny Ghost Hunter show now on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, man. Fucking the thing is that I'd love to have a Ghost Hunter show. Problem is, it wouldn't make any money because I don't think anybody's watching cable anymore.
Well, you could do one on a streaming service. But see, the thing is that you would have to come up with like a good angle because there's so fucking many paranormal shows. Yeah. You really have to have a unique angle, and I don't know if I could think of one.
My angle would be this. I know that shit's real. I've seen this kind of shit. But I also call bullshit on most of it. There are real cases that inspire a lot of fakes, and then there are a lot of people who bring a lot of baggage to the table. If something does go down, they're projecting into it, seeing what they want to see, to back up some kind of fucking belief system. When I saw Poltergeist, I thought it was a ghost because my belief system could get behind that. It took a long time, weeks, for me to go, no, this isn't really a ghost. This is a different phenomenon, It was ghost-like, but it was an artificial ghost. It was fucking RSPK.
Here's the thing, though. I think the problem with that, like, I would watch a show like that, but I feel like most people that watch Ghost Hunter type shows, they don't want like a skeptical kind of. They just want to watch something that's like creepy.
Yeah.
And so they can like imagine it's like, ooh, look at that orb, or like, ooh, look at this. I don't know, but I feel like that's kind of like, because whenever they would do a show that had a more skeptical angle to it, like it seemed like it never did all that well. I don't think people want to be like think about that it's not real.
Paranormal phenomena is rare, intermittent, and you can't depend on it. It happens when you least expect it, and most of it isn't ghost. It's shit like you have a dream and the dream comes true. You have a feeling, so you act on that feeling and it saves your life. You have a premonition that something might happen, might be bad, so you said, I'm going home. I had that happen. Bad shit started happening to us on the way to the club. Got to the club and said, Jenny, I'm getting out of here. There's something not right. We left, and then that Pulse nightclub shooting happened up the road. Remember Pulse nightclub shooting where they do in there? Shot up the gay bar. That was like a mile up the road from there. And I just had
we were out that night.
We were out that night, and I just I said, Jenny, something's not right, man. It feels bad here. I feel a lot of anger from these people. Jenny's probably like, oh, you're full of shit. So I don't want to be here. Left, and then we went back in that Pulse nightclub.
Well, I was mad because we'd driven all the way down there, but I'm used to like falling because you don't normally do that.
Yeah.
So
and so my instincts are true.
But see, I don't think that that's supernatural. I think some people might say that it's supernatural, but I think that people are a lot more.
I never said supernatural.
Yeah,
it's paranormal.
No, I'm saying I didn't say you did. I'm just saying that like some people do. Like they would say that as, "Ooh, I'm psychic" or something like that. But I don't think it's that weird. I think most people have that ability. It's just that you don't usually listen to it.
You're not listening to it. It's an animal instinct is part of it. It's what Obi-Wan says, is just let go of your waking conscious self and just fucking let your feelings take over. Just kind of feel your way. You see it in your mind. It's like that. It's not rational. It's irrational, but it's not insane. It's listening to ancient instincts is what it's like.
Well, because I think a lot of stuff, like you're picking up on a lot of environmental clues that you're not consciously aware of, I think is what it is.
Your subconscious mind's a really good analog fucking supercomputer. It's a quantum computer. And I believe a lot of it is happening outside your skull. And it's interconnected with a quantum universe, fucking vague information where there's like a fucking internet out there that you have kind of access to. Kind of like how a radio has access to the radio spectrum. It's something like that. That's how animals know to do certain things at certain times and which direction to fly for the winter. It's like that. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not worried about shit like we're worried about.
They're just doing what they feel is right. They feel right. It feels right to them for a fucking reason. But they're not analyzing it. They're not thinking about it.
I wonder why Pookie feels that it's right that she wants to go in the closet all the time.
Because she wants to tear up fucking shoes. Pookie has all kinds of weird feelings, like biting daddy. Yeah. Play biting daddy. She loves to bite and to wrestle. She doesn't bite hard. She just wants to play.
Yeah, I've never had her bite hard. Yeah, she knows not to.
She knows
she's just playing.
It's just playing, wrestling and biting and fucking running and then coming back and falling on her back. Okay, we can't talk about the cats all day.
Hey, I was done with my notes, so it's okay.
Okay. I'm gonna shut this shit down.
Are you really? What are you gonna make? Did you tell me and I forgot?
Well,
I'm not even drunk. I've only this is strawberry moonshine, by the way.
You notice that it tastes better once it waters down a bit?
Well, yeah, because it's kind of strong.
Yeah. I don't know. I got a bunch of ham. I want some ham and eggs.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah, fried eggs and ham sounds good. If I have enough eggs, we'll see.
Tom Sykes said, "It's a dark place. Cats like dark places." Yeah.
She likes tearing up shoes.
I think that's the main thing.
That's all it is. She knows
she knows shoes are in the closet. She's like, ooh, I can totally claw those shoes.
Yeah, she likes to claw and doing all this on shoes and sharpening in her claws, and it's kind of like she's drooling. It's like a sexual thing or something. I don't know. She just loves it. Okay, I'm gonna get ready.
All right. So thank you everybody for dropping by this evening, talking about hauntings and shit like that. So tomorrow we'll be back for another movie review, and we're going to be doing Night of the Comet because that's what everybody voted for. Well, that's what the people on Patreon voted for, so that's what we're going to do. And like I said, I feel like a lot of people have recommended that, and I feel bad because I'm like, yeah, we'll get around to it. Yeah, we'll get it. So we haven't got around to it. But we're going to get around to it. We'll watch it tonight, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So thank you, everybody, for Super Chats. Thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you guys again doing a movie review tomorrow. Good night.